the very first session, and we are giving thanks to the Sompon Social Service, Madam Sompon, particularly for creating this platform. It is your platform, it is our platform, and Madam Sompon is the CEO of Sompon Social Services. Sompon is a humanitarian organization that seeks to empower the youths, empower women to be able to fend for themselves, to be able to survive on their own. We hail Madam Sompon so much for this wonderful and tremendous work that she's already doing for the youth. This master class, or the Sompon Social Service, equally has another activity that it carries out every Sunday, 6 p.m. Cameroon time and 7 p.m. German time, which seeks to bring youths together, teach them how to fish and not give them fish, of course. This is by going through their businesses, their projects, and trying to follow them up and equally sponsor these programs. So today we will be talking particularly on the debate, and our topic for this day is, do African youths have the potentials to build the continent? Do African youths have the potential to build the African continent? Of course. I want to begin already by welcoming my panelists. I have 4 panelists who are going to be along with me during this program. I wish to introduce Rudy Berry, who is here with me. Berry is a Cameroonian, age 20, and Berry is a freelance web developer. I already forgot introducing myself. Your host this afternoon is Mbolifo Elvis Ambe, who is going to be anchoring this program for 1 hour. We have 60 minutes to be together, to talk Africa, to talk us, and how together we can build a better Africa. Mbolifo Elvis, like I said, is a facilitator. I facilitate biology and human biology. I work with Ministry of Secondary Education here in Cameroon. So I was introducing my freelance web developer, Berry, of course, who is here with me. And Berry is the happy winner of the Sompon Masterclass of 2019. I am happy he is here with us. He will surely have to share his joy on how he felt when he won the Sompon Masterclass. My second panelist is Nomadlo Malangu. I hope I got the name correctly. Age 40, a South African, and she's a peer educator, a social entrepreneur, and she triples as an artist. We have a great diversity on this platform, and I hope you're going to enjoy being with us. Third on my list, on my panel, of course, is Antonia Ndumba. I hope I'm getting the names correctly. Antonia Ndumba is age 19, from Namibia, of course, and she's a social entrepreneurship student. You'll be getting more from them when they'll be taking their turns to talk to us how together we can make Africa the best. And our 4th panelist who will be joining us very soon is Mr. Fonman Emmanuel Lenzemu, age 29. Fonman Emmanuel is a filmmaker, a journalist, and he hails from Cameroon. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to this platform, the debate, and I hope we are going to have a wonderful time, because today is going to be a very interesting day. We are beginning our show, we are beginning our program to sensitize our youths on how they, in their own small way, can develop the Africa they want. We are looking at Africa right up to 2063. We are going to be considering the Agenda 2030, which is a westernized agenda, and we'll be dwelling so much on the Agenda 2063, which is cut, shaped, and sharpened just for Africans. And this agenda, as we know already, is so rooted in Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance, and provides a framework for addressing past injustice done already to Africa, of course, and the realization of the 25th or the 21st century, I beg your pardon, as our African century. It means that this 20th century is going to be a 21st century, I beg your pardon, is a century for Africa to develop, to build itself, and equally to be one of that country that everybody can love to be there and equally live in Africa. You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're still waiting for Foreman Emmanuel. Before you take your turns, I was talking about Pan-Africanism, and the Pan-African call is that Africa must unite in order to realize its renaissance. And the present generations are confident that the destiny of Africa is in their hands, and that they must act now to shape the future they want to have for their Africa. It should equally be noted, however, that the Agenda 2063 will not happen spontaneously. And that is the reason why we are here, to share our experiences, to look at where we have loopholes so that we can already start filling those loopholes so that we develop a very better Africa. So this will require conscious and deliberate efforts to nurture a transformative leadership that will drive the agenda and defend Africa's interests. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you once again to our program, The Debate. Like I said, it's going to be an interesting session. And before I take rounds with our panelists to say something about the agenda that we are going to have today, the topic of the debate, which is, do African youths have the potential to build a continent? I would like to have an appraisal of this agenda from each of the panelists, and I will be taking first Barry Sela. Barry Sela, what is your take about this agenda 2063?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Like you introduced, I'm Barry Sela. And my appraisal of the Agenda 2063 is it's something terms or things that were set up by the African Union after 50 years, because when all the African countries had achieved independence, the African Union had achieved its aim. So there was no need for the African Union to exist. In order for the African Union to continue to exist, they had to bring up another agenda, and that is why they came up with the Agenda 2063, which are the goals or aims or what they seek to achieve by 2063. So that is what I understand by the Agenda 2063.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Noma, your mic is muted. Can you unmute your mic so that we can get you, so that you take your turn equally and give an appraisal of this Agenda 2063 that is so hot, and each and every one of us is looking forward to contribute our little to make Africa what we want it to be. Noma, are you with me?
Hello. Yes, I'm
I
with
can
you.
get you 5 on 5.
Okay. For me, Africa Agenda 2063, it need to be adjusted with the communication between young people at the present moment. The people on the upper level should not take decision without the consultation on the ground level, because in most cases it looks like it's gonna benefit. It look implantable on a paper, but on a practical level it doesn't seems like it will happen. So this is really important, that in most cases when they do a document or do something that it will benefit young people or Africans, the Africans who are affected at the ground level should be part of the negotiation, and to be part of the people who are saying what is really affecting them.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Norma says that each and every one of us should be included, the young, the old, should be included or involved in decision making in Africa. And these decisions should not only remain on paper, but when they are taken, they should equally be implemented. Antonia, are you with me? Antonia? Antonia will be coming up soon. We'll continue. We have 2 panelists who are there with me already. We're supposed to be 4 of us. You bear with us. We have problems with our connections, and we are praying that the gods of internet is going to hear us today and equally make sure that our internet stand the test of time, as of course, so that we can go through this program. Barry Sela, Barry, you say African youths lack skills and self-development at this point in time, which are essential to develop the continent, hence making them lack potentials to the continent. What do you understand, or what do you mean to say when you make this statement?
Now, when I make this statement, first of all, I talk about potential. Now, when we talk about potential, it is the ability to do something and to achieve development or to attain a certain goal. So, it means to have potential, to say that we have potential means you already have whatever you need, the skills and whatever is necessary to achieve your aim. And I say that because at this point in time, I find that most African youth are still lacking. They don't have what it takes to develop the African continent, and so they don't have everything that is necessary for them, be it skills, be it self-development, amongst others, that they need to achieve development in Africa.
Thank you so much. I want to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Fomba Emmanuel, who is joining us from Savyad Hotel, Cameroon. Mr. Emmanuel, you're welcome.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mbolifo. Good evening, Gatien, and good evening to Nomatlu. Unfortunately, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name well.
You are
It's
going
so
to get
new
it.
to us.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mr. Fomba Emmanuel, like I introduced already, is a Cameroonian,
yeah.
age 29. Mr. Fomba is a filmmaker and doubles as a journalist. You're welcome. Before you came in, we were already looking at the Agenda 2063, our appraisals, and we would like to get your appraisal on this Agenda 2063, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yeah, absolutely. Since the African Union thought it wise to come up with this agenda, it's been a very laudable initiative to me, but I think that it has been programmed in such a way that it can be able to relieve our old leaders of accountability, because when we say agenda 2063, they know that very well. They know very well that 2063 they will not be there to give us account of what they have been doing, and this is why they have to push it so far. So I wish that it should be closer and not 2063.
Okay, Emmanuel wishes that the agenda should be closer, maybe 2025, so that those who are taking decisions
Absolutely.
will be present when we'll be doing evaluation. And that takes me back to what Norma said, that decisions should be taken with our youths involved in the decision making, so that each and every one of us at the time of accountability will be present on the table. Thank you so much for that powerful one. Mr. Emmanuel, I am still with you.
Yes.
You say African youths are not lazy. Our system have deactivated us. What do you mean when you say that?
Yes, absolutely. I very much believe that the African youth, they have got a lot to give in. They have been making a lot of commitments. There have been so much that they have been doing. But unfortunately, we live in a kind of systems that are designed not to actually empower our young people or actually give them conducive grounds so that they can be able to excel in a society and take Africa forward to a destination that Africa really needs to be. We live in a kind of Africa where we see every time our old leaders who are there, they are consistently making efforts to see how they can be able to close doors to the African youth. They are making efforts to see how they can be able to make the ground very unconducive for the African youth. And this is what I meant by the African youth has been certainly shut down by the system. The environment, the immediate environment, the leadership of the immediate environment of every African youth is become so conducive that they cannot actually add to Africa what they desire.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. I was saying Madame Sompon who popped up. I hope she'll be coming to throw us more light. She's a very dynamic lady. So many caskets that I will be listing them as we are going ahead. Thank you so much, Mr. Foreman Emmanuel, for that contribution. We are still hoping that Antonia from Namibia will be joining us. We already have a healthy panel with three panelists present. Good. Norma is with us now. So I was thinking that if on this panel we unite our voices to forecast a picture of the Africa we want, what will be your aspiration for 2063? Mr. Emmanuel?
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Mbolifo. Thank you for starting with me. Africa we want is not short of an Africa with equal opportunities. The Africa we want is not short of an Africa where there are equal rights for everybody. An Africa we want is not short of an Africa with a flourishing economy. These are all of the things that the African youth wish for Africa. And we must say that the African youth have been very committed to making sure that like I already indicated, first of all, the 2063 seems to be so far from me. I don't know why we should be pushing it to 2063. We have been so we've delayed for so long, and 2063 is not any date to me. But I think that if the African youth, if we actually take the bull by the horn, if we actually decide, if we actually understand that the systems have been putting us down, we are going to push this agenda, and it's going to come earlier than 2063. So we will even modify that agenda, because the agenda is not designed by those who the agenda is not actually designed by those of the 21st century generation. We will want this agenda to reflect the 21st century generation, to reflect the vision of creative youth, African youth of the 21st century generation. So I will not be pushing to say Vision 2063, or let me just put it for the sake of our discussion here. That vision is good, and we, the African youth, we will modify that vision to suit who we are.
That is the aim of this our discussion, so that we as youths should be able to rephrase these aspirations that we have for this agenda, so that they can suit our time, they can stand the present time, and that we together equally as youths can walk through these proposed aspirations to make Africa what we want it to be. I hear Mr. Emmanuel is insisting so much that this 2063 is too far, and that is one of the reasons why we are here. So for those joining us, we are on a debate on the Sompon platform. This is our platform. This is your platform. You can share the link with your friends so that they can join us. And together, as youths of Africa, we will make Africa what we want it to be. Mr. Sela, what is your take? What do you think can be the contribution of our African youth to rebuild this continent, actually?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. The African youth, before they can get this continent, I have to say they need to acquire a lot. They still need to build up themselves, acquire skills, acquire potentials, and be ready to compete globally. Because at this point, it's most African youths are competing at the continental, let's say at the national even, or even at a more local level. So they don't usually meet up with the expectations of the international or the at the global level. So at this point, African youth, before they have to contribute, before they can contribute to the development of the African continent, they have to measure up. First of all, they need to acquire the potential. They need to have the potential. They need to learn how to be able to measure up at the global level. First of all, they need to acquire skills. Now, the world is a global village now, especially with the advent of technology. You look at the example of the internet and so on. Now, most African youths have everything they need. For some, at some point, they have with the basics that they need. Especially when it comes to things like software development and others, because all you need is it's mostly found on the internet. There are lessons you can use even with a basic laptop, a basic computer. You can already have the skills. But if you go around, there are few Africans that are already getting to that domain, but they are not yet able. Most of them are not yet able to compete at a global level. And so to measure, to really be able to develop this, you see, that's just an example. We need to be able to get these skills. At some point, we need machinery, we need equipment to be able to do this, but we start at the local level. And also we have to be able to use what we have. We should have to be use what we have to also develop ourselves. We have to develop. Self-development is very essential. We need to be disciplined. We need to be accountable. We need to be ready to admit and be able to learn from those that know above us. We need to humble ourselves and to get all these things. When we have all this in place, it's going to be very easy, and it's going to be very uh, I think it's going to facilitate the process of the development of the African continent by the African youth.
Thank you so much, Barry. If I got you well, you want Africa as a strong, united, and influential global player and partner. That Africa should be recognized worldwide as that big continent that is endowed with potentials. I see Cornelia Hedchel, I think I got the name correctly, who says time is running out. Time actually is running out, and we must hasten this agenda so that it comes very, very, very soon. Norma, you're with us. As a lady, what do you think ladies can contribute to make Africa what we want it to be by 2063 or earlier than
One thing
2063?
Uh, one thing that I need to agree with Emmanuel in terms of 2063. It's very far, and we've been through a lot as Africans. We've been having a lot of challenges. We've been dealing with a lot of poverty. We've been dealing with a lot of things that are affecting us. So why the delay? And the other thing that I need to address in terms of what need to be done, it's like they need to change the school system that they are using in Africa, like it teaching our young people to be employees. Why are they not having entrepreneurships subjects in school? Why is this system teaching our young people to do the same thing and to think like with the same mentality? In one classroom, you can find the doctors, the artists, you can find the plumbers, you find different people, but they are being taught in the same method. So this is another thing that it's need to be dealt with in terms of developing the our African continent for the agenda 2063, which is it's very far. And the other thing that we need resources in terms of making sure that the young people who are already trying to build their who are trying to build a continent should get those access, because we are not having the support system in that. It's why you find our young people running to Europe in terms, instead of building their own continent. They think that their greener pasture are in Europe. So this is another thing. We have lack of resource, lack of support from our government, lack of support from whoever that is in charge, the people that we have power. So this is another thing. And the other thing that I think it's really important, it's like we need to heal as Africans in order to go forward. We are still dealing with the past. We are still dealing with the issue of colonization. We just went like I'm a South African after an apartheid system. We just went to democracy, but there was no platform for the healing point. So people still have the issues inside them that they didn't deal with that. So this is another thing. That is the African continent, to have our power, to have to decolonize ourselves from the decolonization. We need to make sure that we are getting a healing platform.
So we want an integrated Africa or continent which is politically united and based on the ideas of Pan-Africanism and the vision of African Renaissance. I'll be coming back to this particular aspiration. I'm sure Fomba and Emmanuel will be able to throw us some light. I can see Antonia Ndumba from Namibia. Antonia, if you are getting me, please, can you unmute your microphone? Your microphone is muted. That is good. I can have you.
I unmuted.
Thank you for coming in. You were in, I'm sure it's network that is putting you on and off. Antonia, you're welcome. Before you came in, we're already looking at the Agenda 2063, and we're going across with the appraisals already of what we think or what can youth do to be able to make Africa what they want by 2063. So we'd like to hear from you. Antonia is a student, of course, from Namibia, and she is age 19. You're so welcome. And I think this program should really touch you right deep in your heart, because it is going to go through with you, and surely you will have an account to give equally tomorrow if you don't play your part very well as a youth. So as we are already gathered here this evening, first edition of the debate, we want to hope, and we are hoping so strongly, that by the time we are done bringing out the points that we need to be able to build Africa, we are equally already doing something in our own small area, so that tomorrow we will not be blamed for knowing what we're supposed to do and we did not do it. Antonia, what is your take, or what do you think African youth should really do if they must build the continent? Can you please unmute your microphone? Antonia, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Good. My question was, what do you think African youths can do if they must rebuild Africa and make it what we want it to be by 2063?
Thank you for the question. For me, like I second with Norma and say that 2063 is far. Because I, being 19 years old and being the youngest here, I'll be a pensioner by 2063. And what I really think is the most important part is dividing development from westernization. I've learned that amongst my peers and amongst people who talk about developing our continent, their minds are steadfast on westernization, which is adapting Western ways of living, whereas developing is bettering the country or the continent as a whole. So that is really teaching the youth that what they're doing is fine. Them having a plumbing business is okay. Them being a tailor, it's developing the continent. And more than anything else, I think there's a lack of courageousness within the African youth. And that's why people think that they can leave and be on other continents and come back when things are better. There's this notion that things will get better and you can come back eventually. And lastly, definitely support for the creative industry. We are raised and we're being taught to be doctor, teacher, nurse. That's all. There's no space for me to successfully be in the creative industry and be a master at my art. So I think as Africans, we have art is within us and creativity is within us. But like I said before, thinking about westernization, that is the constant thing we get. We need to be a doctor or you need to be a teacher in order for you to be successful or in order for the country to develop. So yeah, I hope I answered the question correctly, but
Thank
that's
you so much. So you are telling us that African youths need to be educated. They need to have the educational background, the skills to be able to integrate in the different activities that are taking place, and these activities which are looking forward to developing Africa. Sela, you talked about potentials, and I would like to come to you now to ask you, what are those potentials you think African youth should really put in place, or they should have, if they must build Africa and make it the Africa they want by 2063? Do we have some potentials in Africa?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes,
Can
we
you be
have
audible,
potentials in
be
Africa.
audible so that our audience can get you clearly?
Okay, I said we do have potentials. In Africa, we don't have the potentials that it needs to be our continent. So we need, we like I insist on the fact that we still need to acquire a lot. I agree with Nomadu that the educational system is one of the things that is hindering uh, our African youths, because when you go to school, all you learn from there is what you are taught. The few entrepreneurs we have, or those who have come up and those who think differently, are those who have deviated from the educational system at some point, and have learned to have and have come to appreciate the other methods of learning, or what they have learned from other sources. So the potentials that we need to develop this continent, that we need to, it all starts at the level of the educational system. So the educational system really needs to be changed so that we can really acquire the right potentials that we need. We need entrepreneurship. It is very, very important. That is the potential that every African youth should have. We know everybody cannot be an entrepreneur, but at least we need the most entrepreneurs possible. That potential is very, very important. And being an entrepreneur comes with so many things. You have to be self-disciplined. You have to be accountable. You have to be it's someone who sacrifices a lot, especially to see your enterprise, your startup, or whatever grow. So this is the main potential. I don't believe Africa can be developed by any other people except by us and as entrepreneurship. And so we really need the entrepreneurship skills and everything that comes with it. There's not just the skills, we need to be able to take our ideas to a global level, learn and see exactly how people are doing things outside there, so that we can be able to copy, and even why not make it better, and uh, make a better version of our own ideas and our own concepts. So at that point, you see, we really have so much potential that we have, that will be necessary to really develop our African continent.
Thank you very much, Barry. I am still with you. You talk of Africans being able to effect change and equally to take risk. I want to say that Barry is the happy winner of last year's Sompon Masterclass, and he is the CEO of Jais Auto. Barry, can you share us your experience? What is the risk you took to be able to come out with that type of entrepreneur, idea, which is Jais Auto? That's online shopping for motor spare parts. What is that extra thing you added that you think can, push the African youth to be able to go higher heights?
Okay, thank you, Samuel. Yeah, like you said, I'm the pro winner of last year's Sompon Business Masterclass Startup Funds. And my project was Jais Auto, which is an online marketplace for car parts and accessories. About what I did, at the base, I am a final year automobile engineering student, but I have I am also a freelance web developer. These are things that this is not something I learned in school, but something I had to take along the line, because I discovered that it could be useful to me and it could be useful to my society. And I learned, I took up programs, I took up um, trainings in order to be able to develop the things that I do. And I had to do that at a global level, not at the local level. So I can be able to develop and bring up solutions which are up to standard. Yeah, as in a matter of manner of saying, so that I'm able also to compete. So the risk I took, first of all, is it was not easy for me to mix school, first of all, and taking a side program on my own, learning all that. But I had to make it work. So it was risky. I risked classes, all that, exams, but something I had to do. And the, God being my helper, I always found a way around it. So that is really the first risk I took. But secondly, I had to put in my own means. I had to bring in my own small amount of money, whatever I got, invest it, buy whatever I need, set up hosting and so on and so forth to my website, and any other thing that I needed. So all these were risks. Instead of using my small money to do what I had to do other things, but I had to put it up to bring up something. So I had to take these are just a few of the risks. Thank you that I
Thank
had
you
to
for sharing your experience with us. Norma, as a lady, I come back to you. We have ladies also on the panel. As a lady, what do you think youth of Africa need to have as potentials to be able to get to this agenda, which you say is too far? So already as we are here, we are thinking of bringing the agenda closer. Maybe that will be answering the question that Ayemle Linda is asking. How do you want the African youth to contribute in development when opportunities are not given to them? I think we are on this platform and trying to see how youths can take the bull by their horns and develop opportunities for themselves. Like Sela is saying, he had to take a side program which went along with his studies, and that is the risk he took. And so our African youths must not only wait to be given opportunities, but they should seize the opportunities. They should look for these opportunities. They should take risk to have the opportunities. And when they have the opportunities, they should go through these opportunities with faith, as you said, hoping that everything is going to work for the best. So Norma is gone. Mr. Emmanuel is there. Mr. Emmanuel, are you with us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm on.
Good. Mike was muted. Thank you so much. I was with Sela, and he gave his contribution on the potentials that he believes African youth can have or develop so that Africa can be what we want it to be. You are a filmmaker, and you produced a film last year, if my memory is very correct, Africans, acted by Afroconites. That's your country, Afroconites. What was the aim? Because I think you were already working on this agenda so that something can be done. Can you share what prompted you to develop that film, and what are those potentials that the youth with whom you worked with were able to bring forth so as to make that program a success? I think that is the Africa we want. I want to involve everybody in that Africa so that we do not blame anybody, but take part in the development of Africa. Mr. Emmanuel.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Amboli, for like you would know, the film Africans was actually with the help of the ingenuity of Vera Sompon, the CEO of Sompon Social Services, who happens to be one of the persons who has happens to be one of the person who has powered this program. We sat and we actually thought it wise to do something that could be more engaging. As you will know, the systems, like I will put it, have made it in such a way that the African youth cannot feel free expressing themselves. The African youth cannot feel free, like trying to maybe giving their own input. And there is this thing that maybe we need an external energy that will push them to actually uh, feel that they need to do something because time is running short. And this was the essence of Africans. Africans, we believed that for Africa to be to actually realize its vision, for Africa to be actually what a continent that we aims that it should be, we have to engage the women and the youth. The women and the youth, you would know when they put their hands on something, it's always moving faster. It moves at a good pace. It's achieved in a very faster at a faster rate. And this film was actually a means, a tool to actually speak to women and youth to understand that they need to be the primary actors of what the continent needs to be, that they need to be the actors of seeing through the vision of Africa, of the Africa we need to see. And this is why we simulated, this is why we use Africans to simulate the kind of Africa that we need to have. We use the film, and it's very true that with the coming of the novel virus, the novel coronavirus, we have not been able to exploit the film as much as we intended. But we believe that in a very short time we are going to to be doing that. So Africans was a very great tool to ensure that we communicate with the active population. I'm talking of the youth and the women in the African society.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel, for sharing your experience. Your theme was to encourage women, to empower them, encouraging them to be partakers in politics. Like you said, refusing to vote is indirectly voting. So women should take the bull by the horns, like we said already, and be part of decision making, because this is the blame game that we have. We shy behind, and when decisions are taken that don't really, suit us, we will say that they were bad decisions, but maybe the people who took the decisions were looking at it in a different dimension. Norma, you are
Yes.
an actor and a social entrepreneur. Can you tell us some risks that you take to make your Africa what you want it to be? Are you with me, Norma? Norma seems to have some.
Okay, as normal, I've been working with young people from 21 years now. And yes, I'm with you. Can
Okay,
you hear me now?
I am getting you 5 on 5. Right on.
Can you hear me?
I am getting you, Norman. Right on. We lost Norma there. We are talking of an Africa with a strong cultural identity, which Fomban should be best placed to tell us something, because when you work with youth, you get to encounter so many cultural differences, even character differences, and you should be able to tell us something on that. Still in the line, remember our topic is, do African youths have the potentials to build a continent? So we are looking around to see, deep to see those potentials maybe that our youths have that they don't think maybe they are potentials, which are actually valuable and laudable, that can make our Africa what it is. What are some of those cultural identity, cultural differences? What is the heritage of your own country that you have, that you think you benefited when you did the film Africans?
Okay, Mr. Elvis, Bolifo Elvis, if that question is directed to me, I would want to highlight before I go further that culture is what makes us Africans. Without culture, we wouldn't have been calling ourselves Africans. And if we want to defend Africa in any perspective, we should first be talking of culture, because it is that culture that makes us who we are. And talking about the various maybe cultural resources that were able to help us to realize the film Africans, or I don't know which perspective you wanted me to take it from, but for Africans, we make sure that we had an inclusive African identity in the film, so that we could make the South Africans feel an inclusion in the film. We could make those of East Africa feel an inclusion in the film. We could make those of West Africa and Central Africa perhaps feel an inclusion in the film. So the film was very inclusive, and it depicted the African cultural heritage from all spheres of the continent.
So Africa is one. We are each other's keeper, and no African should feel a stranger anywhere you are in Africa. Mr. Berry Sela, you must have been working with youths, with some youths in the development of your program. What are those delinquent characters that you think may hinder our youths from being active partakers in the development of these agendas or these aspirations that have been put forward, so that by 2063 or before 2063, like most of the panelists already complained, that it's too far and that they want results very soon? What do you think, Barry, that those delinquent behaviors that our youths are putting forth, which may, make us to miss this goal of developing Africa by 2063?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Elvis. I'm very happy that you asked that question because I've been working with some youths, and I also work a lot with people at an international level, and I sometimes have things that I can actually direct to people to do around here. But I'll just take an example. I gave someone something to do, and after 3 days, the person came and told me they did not have lights or something like that. So you see, if we have to grow, we are in a town in Douala where I am. There can be no way. It's very difficult for not to have a power cut in Douala everywhere. If you don't have electricity, maybe in Bonamutadi, you can go to Bonaberi and do your job. So if you are going to stop and wait for when they are going to bring back the power in order to continue working, for example, so you are going to continue relying exclusively on other people. You're not taking any risk, you're not putting anything extra in order to achieve this. So first of all, is that I don't care manner or attitude, and I what or let it be the way it wants. In French, they say "ça sort comme ça sort" or whatever. So I don't think those are expressions we encourage. We should actually fight against. In Africa, we have so many challenges. It's true. We have a lot of limitations or barriers, obstacles along the way. So it should give us more energy to forge ahead, and we should not instead use them as excuses. So we should not be happy when we encounter these difficulties. That's just an example. There are others where people don't just want to work. There are others where if you give, there's no people take something, they say I will do this, they don't do that, they don't do it, or people accept that they can do things that they cannot do, which is not a
That's
bad
the
thing,
blame.
but then
That
they
is
don't go ahead to get the skills that they need.
that is a blame game that we don't want. We want to acknowledge Antonia, who is joining us. Antonia, unmute your microphone, please. So Sila says that youths complain too much. I remember when we're talking of Africa, the one that we want it to be, we're thinking of an Africa that has water for everybody, free of course, that is going to have good roads, schools, education free even for everybody, good hospitals, and good communication systems. You see, we have problems going on with our debate this afternoon, our talk, because we are on and off power, unstable internet, which is making it difficult for us. So we want that for a few years to come, we should be able to be on internet smoothly, run our programs without any problem, and the internet should be cheap equally. When powers are not, the energy source is not very stable. The kind of Africa we have today. And our prayer is that our Africa should be one that you're even moving on the streets, even in our quarters, there should be light on the floor before the light up. You should be able to have lights all over. Antonia, you're coming in. Thank you so much for coming in again. As a youth, you said you're the youngest and you're the youngest on the panel. What are those deviant behaviors that you experience or that you observe amongst the youth of your age group that can equally hinder the development of Africa that we have started talking about today in our own small corner? Antonia.
I think the need, it's like waiting for this savior to come and help us, or waiting for someone else to do it. And it's conversations we had before, and letting my peers know that we are the ones we have been waiting for, and we cannot wait. I think there's like, I have an idea of something I want to start, but I'm waiting for someone else to come and tell me, go for it. Or just waiting for someone, for the government to do something, waiting for politicians to tell us that it's fine. Just this narrative, I think, that is really hindering the progress is waiting
Waiting.
for someone else to come in and and not doing something by ourselves.
Okay, we want to thank all our viewers. We have Cornelia again who is coming up. Cornelia, thank you for being part of our program, and we wish you always be with us when we are on this show. We got our youngest panelist who says we should not wait for a savior to come from elsewhere, but begin to do our own things and stop the blame game. I acknowledge the presence of Capital DVU from Cameroon, of course, suffering of negligence while she is the oracle of intelligence. Capital DVU, you always have something interesting to tell us. You're welcome and keep watching as we go on with the program. Mr. Forman Emmanuel, I still want to come to you because you are a resource person here and you interact so much with youth. Antonia is gone. I was saying that for me, they are diaspora because they are overseas, so far from me, so they are my diaspora. What do you think, my panelists, that we can do in order to be able to cooperate with the diaspora youths in the development of Africa? What can we do in order to incorporate them? Because when they go out and come back, yes, Antonia, you want to say something?
Yeah. Also, I'm home now, but I study in the US. So I really think that a lot of my friends, my African friends that are there, it's this thing of I'll be here and I'll go back when things change or when I'm well off. I think the youth in the diaspora need to know that we need them back home.
So we need
And
them back home. Actually, that is what I'm talking about. We need them
yeah,
back
we
home.
need them back
And
home.
since
And
they are not with us now, they are out of the country. We want to see how we can cooperate with them in order to bring development back home. Antonia, you already saying something? Just right on. I go back to Emmanuel after you. You have a few minutes, 1 minute to go through because we're rounding up. And we need to have a take-home message for our youth who are listening. We are beginning. And we think that it's going to be an inspiration to them as we continue with our program in subsequent editions. Antonia, right on, please. You have 1 minute.
all I have to say is that we are the ones we have been waiting for. And we cannot wait anymore.
Antonia, I feel like that's your last word. We are the ones who are waiting for, and we can't wait
are the ones
anymore.
we're waiting for.
That is so powerful. That is so powerful. Fomban, can you take over, please, and say something? How can we incorporate? How can we coordinate? How can we, involve the diaspora in this our building of Africa? Mr. Fomban? Fomban is not there. Barry, are you getting me? Can you take the line, please?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. What do you think, or how do you think we can, cooperate with the diaspora youth to be able to develop our Africa?
Okay, thank you. First of all, let's take when it comes to a domain, like most of the time I deal with people online, and that is what I encourage people to, most African youth, to really get into. So it helps you with if somebody needs me to write a software for them in Europe, for example, I can write the software for them and send it to them without them having to meet me. So you see, we can, when it comes to it's like an email or writing a message, at that level, we don't need any physical presence. So we are able to communicate on that soft level. At the level of things that we need to use machinery, we need to be able to create partnerships. If they are not able to come back home or they are raising capital or what, they should be able to create good partnerships with those who are back home, those who have the skills and those who have everything, that those who are trying to do something and those who are trying to acquire the skills and the potential. They should encourage them in whatever way, provide them with what they need to acquire, the knowledge, the skills, and also form partnerships with them, fund their ideas, and make sure.
All right. In a nutshell, I want to believe that you're saying we need to involve our Africans who are out of the country to participate with us while they are out, cooperate with us, share their own ideas as we share ours, so that we are able to make Africa what we want it to be. Emmanuel, I was with you before your line left off, and I want to just cue with Timah Adeline, watching from Cameroon, who is talking about the blame game. How can we be blaming the youth? for example, no light, poor connections in a place like Yaoundé, and we think that the youths are the one at fault. We want to shift that blame and say that youth are not at fault by already taking another dimension to be able to do our things ourselves, not wait for somebody. We want to be part of the decision making and participate and go through the decisions so that we actually do not blame anybody. Emmanuel, please, I wanted you to tell us a bit how we can cooperate with our diaspora youth to make Africa or to make them participate in building Africa. You have two
Okay.
minutes.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Amboli. For I am very happy that you are asking this question when we had addressed the question of culture. And one of the things that we got to understand is that our African youth in the diaspora have actually westernized themselves. Africa is living out of them. And if we must engage them, then we need to make them to understand that home is Africa. Home is Africa, and they are not Europeans. They are not Americans. And when they live in America, when they live in Europe, knowing fully well that they have a home, that ego to come back is already there. I am happy that we are already having such a discussion like what we are having now. It means that any youth who can listen to us would already be trying to reconnect. There are many of them who have never made an effort to come to the continent because their parents give birth to them there and they grow up there and they never make an effort to come there. There are many who have lived and died in overseas, and we would want our youth to know very much that home is Africa. We don't want youth to every time be crying like George Floyd was crying, Mama, Mama, when she is no more, when he is in a foreign land that nobody can help. In Africa, there is always somebody to help, irrespective of color. You would understand that Africa is that country that, or whether that continent that operates. We don't discriminate on races. Whoever cries, we give that helping hand to, whether it's black or it's white. So it is time that we actually
Thank you
start
so much. Thank you so
making.
much, Manuel.
Yes, it is time that we actually start making
Thank you so much.
our African youth to understand that home is Africa and they are Africans and not Europeans. And no matter how long they have stayed in Europe, their home is Africa and that is where they owe allegiance.
Thank you so much. Home is Africa. We should not be in a foreign land and be crying where nobody can help us. But while we are home, we are together, like Emmanuel says, and we can always affect the change. But I still think very strongly that cooperating with the diaspora youth can be a plus to us and not a minus. It can actually be a plus because they are exposed to some of those things that we don't have, and cooperating with them, Emmanuel, I think is a push for us. It's like, expanding our tentacles to other places, sending our tentacles to places that we can, tap some experiences from there, come back with the experiences and see how we can develop them here with us. So I think the problem we should be talking of or handling is, that they should always remember to come back home, like you said, invest here in Africa, so that when they come back, because some come back after being out for just 2 3 years, and I see them expressing much surprise. Oh, this road is still like this. Whereas they left the road like that, they behave as if they are not used to the realities of Africa. So please, for those of you who are listening to us, this is the debate on Sompon social service platform, first edition of the debate, which of course will be taking place every Monday, 7 p.m. German time. For those who are in Cameroon, it is 6 p.m. Cameroon time. And equally, the Sompon Social Service has many activities like the Sompon Masterclass, which goes on every Sunday from 6 p.m. with me as co-host and Madame Sompon Vera as the host. We're inviting all of you who have joined today that we are always online. Go to our YouTube page and our Facebook page for those who will miss this edition, and you'll be able to edify yourself and keep yourself current with the current activities that are taking place in the Sompon family. Those of you who come with us, we incorporate you into the family and we become the Sompon family. Sela, you're looking like you want to say something, still on the diaspora.
I was agreeing with you. I really agree with you that we should be able to cooperate with them. We should not see them as enemies uh, or people, or ask all of them to come back home. They are really exposed to other things. They go through a different system of education. So cooperating with them is very important at the financial level and at the intellectual level.
Okay. So it is not to push them away, but to bring them back home, share their experiences, and try to see what we can learn from them. Being out is not a bad thing, of course, but we should always know that home is home, like Mr. Fomban said already. I want to direct the question to Norma. Norma, as an African lady, what do you think? Excuse me. As an African lady, what do you think about having an Africa with good governance, good democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law? Do you think we can have all of these qualities in Africa as we are looking forward to make Africa one of its kind? Do you think all of this can be implemented, Norman?
It is, yes, it is possible to have a good democracy and healthy democracy as long as our African leaders can stop corruption, as long as the people who have ability can stop nepotism, as long as people can, as Africans, in as a continent as a whole, we can just think about each other and not be divided, because together we can do more. If we are divided, you are from Cameroon, the other one Uganda, the other one Malawi, and we are taking us, I'm a South African, we are taking us that we are from these different African countries. We cannot fight whatever the challenges that we are facing. But if we work together, if we stand together as an Africans, as one people, fight all this corruption, fight all uh, the challenges of people uh, who are demoralizing our human rights, then it's gonna be possible. Because now the challenge is that, and whatever we are trying to make an impact as women, as young people, as African people, we are having a challenge that we are not having full support on the people who are having power. So one thing that I want is like we need to stand firm and still continue to fight. It's still a long road. I understand that it's still a long road, but uh, one change that we are doing, it's making an impact. So this is what I can say.
Yes, I think that our connection is a problem at the moment, and you're doing an amazing job. Norma, thank you for what you just said now. And the same questions applies to Barry. What do you think? What would be your last word if you have the possibilities to tell the viewers?
Okay, thank you, Madam Vera. My last word, I still stand on my point that we really have a lot to do. Each African youth, as an individual, has so much to do to achieve potential, to gain the potential to able to collaborate with others, to be able to develop themselves because they have ideas, they have skills at their own level, but they are not yet enough to be able to really change our continent. So they should put in time. They should take side programs. They should learn a lot about entrepreneurship. They should develop themselves. They should learn when they conceive their ideas or bring up their amazing projects they have. Let them think global and not just continental, because the competition is not just at the national or at the continental level, but it is global. And let them also learn how things are done outside. It is not a bad thing to copy. You can copy and make it a better idea. So let them embark on developing themselves and making their ideas better so that they can really stand out and develop the continent.
Thank you so very much. The same question applies to you, Mr. Fomban Emmanuel. What would you want to say if you had the last chance in this platform at the moment? What would be the advice, or again, what would you want to tell your viewers, listeners, It is going to go viral, maybe. What do they hear? What do you want to tell us?
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Vera Sompon. Thank you so much. And before I make any further statement, since it's my last word, certainly I don't know if it's my last word. I first of all want to thank the establishment of Saviat Hotel. They permitted me to be online because in my quarter we have not had lights, and this is one of the things that is putting African youth down. This is not what we can hold them responsible for. And I want to call on the African youth. The first stage of making our continent what we need it to be is to hold those who are in power accountable. If we don't hold them accountable, we are not doing anything. We are not moving any step because they are going to be there for some time. And when we hold them accountable, they will start learning from us that there is need to do things right. So we need to hold them accountable, and this needs to be this needs to take the engagement of everybody. This needs the commitment of everybody, be it the African diaspora, be it the Africans living in Africa. We need to start learning how to hold our leadership responsible. Because when we hold them responsible, they are scared to continue doing the worst that they are already doing. So it is very important that we hold them responsible. And if I must make any last statement, it is for all the Africans, both home and diaspora, to actually get engaged in holding our leadership responsible and learning how to how to condemn the mischiefs in Africa, especially by the African leadership, because these people they go about with our monies, with the money they go about messing up with is our taxpayers' money. We all contribute this money that they mess it us all around. This is the money that is supposed to be giving us good roads. This is the money that is supposed to be giving us good educational institution. This is the money that is supposed to be giving us good roads and so on and so forth. So we need to start learning how to hold our leadership responsible. And this is the only way by which we can already start a journey to this commitment that all of us needs to make. Thank you.
Thank you so very much to our panelists. Thank you very much to all our viewers. We can't name them all, but we appreciate you all. Whatever you're watching, we say thank you because without you, we are not here. And our conversation today was the debate for young people from the African continent to view out their point of view concerning the Agenda 2063 and the agenda. The purpose of the agenda was actually to provide an overview, information about the agenda and to create awareness about this agenda. But on the other hand, it is also to encourage one another, empower one another, bring the diaspora, young people, and as well the African youth in Africa together. It is a platform whereby we want to work together, converse together, dialogue together, and bring out the possible solutions for the development of our continent with our people, for our people, and by our people. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are meeting the same time again next week. Our host had a challenge with the connection with the internet, and that's why I had to dive in. And I appreciate you, all the panelists, for being here. Thank you for the great job you're doing, young people. And for the young people out there, we appreciate you. Together we stand. And this was just the beginning. And for sure, we're going to continue every Monday, meet at the same time, 7 p.m. German time, as well as on Thursdays, we meet together for our racism talk. And then on Sunday, we meet for our business talk. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you so much, but we have come to the end of our conversation and the debate today. Hoping to see you next week. God bless you.